Yeah, this seems to be emerging as a different OPEC meeting to those in history. You've got different stakeholders, Russia for one, China the other, India here, asking about what they view in terms of their own demand prospects, and obviously then you have US and Trump. So Saudi's negotiating position is sort of arguably slightly restrained around those stakeholders, and therefore what it does is going to be sort of arguably predetermined based on that.
Now, I know you are more bearish on the oil price. I think it's $55 your call. What's that based on?
That's based on three things. First of all, the cost curve. The marginal supply emerging from all the excess capacity still seems to be coming down in terms of cost. So deepwater, non-OPEC, non-US is still finding a level that's lower than where we are today. Second is the capacity that we have from OPEC at that lower marginal cost, alongside the fact that the economic social break-evens are coming down. So their pain thresholds in order to be able to take a lower oil price is basically moving higher. And third, shale.
Christyan, what about this argument that there isn't enough oil around to compensate for the ineptitude and corruption that's gone on in Venezuela, for the problems we're seeing perhaps in Libya and Nigeria as well, and for this sanctioned oil that is going to be a problem for Iran? And so that is the case for the bull market, perhaps? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think a lot of that's sort of priced in, but the expectation for Venezuela to lose 500,000 barrels, Iran similarly, I think that is sort of the pretext of this OPEC meeting, but it's sort of slightly circular that as we see these outages, we're seeing OPEC, or the propensity for OPEC to increase production, go up. And this is where we are in the situation we're in today.
It's been carefully managed, and I said it's a beautifully constructed deal earlier, and I really believe that. I think they did very well to get the Russians on board. Everyone thought OPEC was irrelevant. Then the expanded OPEC Plus looked relevant. It's been pretty good compliance, albeit flattered by the Venezuelans. Is the exit strategy, in your mind, going to be absolutely chaotic, or do you think they can control this process?
No, I think it's going to be. I think this could be one of the sort of the worst meetings in terms of negotiation discussions, because the political
worst meetings.
Absolutely, in terms of political backdrop, there isn't a precedent for that many complexities, and the relationships between Saudis and Iranians in the last few OPEC meetings of the 80s and 90s was more healthy. So given that as one of the sort of the axes of the discussions, and secondly, I think in terms of the negotiations between the Saudis, particularly and the Russians, there sounds to be sort of a subset within OPEC that's already driven a decision in terms of increasing production, and so it looks likely that we have sort of predetermined outcome this week of sort of something between 500,000 barrels a day, and there'll be a discussion or a narrative that's palatable enough for the market. So I wouldn't expect there to be some sort of shock and awe on Friday in terms of the actual headlines, but underlying there will be a view to increase production.
We've got about 40 seconds left. Is OPEC Plus now going to look like GCC plus Russia, and old OPEC is dead?
Yeah, I think old OPEC is emerging into something different, which is, as you say, sort of a subset. So Saudi, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, and then Russia. It looks like that Russia will do what it wants. I mean, so they've sort of termed the argument LIFO, last in, first out. And that is what I'd expect Russia to do over the next 6 months, with Saudi sort of compromising within this sort of smaller group of OPEC countries. But over time, I think we are seeing a different format of OPEC.
Christyan.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.